Hello YouTube, this is Kiona. Welcome back to my channel, Praise with Angels. I'm doing a short series on curse breaking. The Lord has called me to do it, so I am putting my story out there. Well, bits and pieces of my story, not my whole story, because my whole story is enough for like a good book. So I'm just going to give you key points of my story, okay? So in the beginning, I've already made 2 videos on here. One talking about curse breaking, what it is, and then the second one was my birth story and how I came to be, how the Lord strategically placed me within the earth. Okay? This story is going to jump to when I was about 9, 10-ish. Okay? If you didn't watch the first 2, I will recap. My parents were both drug addicts. But my father was more of an alcoholic than he was a drug addict, so let's make that a little bit more clear. My mom was the full-on in the streets. So I was not raised by either one of these parents, okay? But I did have a chance when I was 9 years old to go stay with my father, okay? That's where this story is. Now, if you didn't watch the first one, synchronicities, numbers they follow my life. It is a thing, okay? From birth. So, when I went to stay with my father, we stayed at 222. I don't remember the name of the street, but it was in California, because that's where my parents are from. And at this house, I moved in with him and his wife. She was a psychologist, and my father was a home health aide, what I used to be when I worked in California. And during this time, she did a lot of my care. And I learned that I was spiritually gifted at this house. Because of the trauma that this woman placed on my life. So that's clear. This woman abused me in every sense of the word. And I think it was because of how my father treated me. She was jealous. And my father had never spent any time with me since I was probably about 2.5. So for me to come back into his life when I was 9, you could understand a father's love for his daughter. And so I had no waking chance with this woman because of how she felt I came in and took over. And during that time, I would be abused during the day. And I mean, I could talk about the abuse and tell you what this woman did, but there's no point. I released it. During that time, though, when I was being abused at night, when I would sit in my room alone and cry, because there were times I didn't have a mattress, and I would be sitting on this hardwood bench, right, in the room, because they had built-in beds in California, if you don't know. And I would be crying, and I would cry so much that I would want to disassociate, leave my body, because that's what people do in trauma. But I learned that my soul could literally separate from my body. So I learned that I could astral project. So I learned a lot of things in this house about spiritual gifting. I was a very hurt soul. And I would say during this time was when I went from a young child of having that childhood life, like just joyful, playful, because the family that had raised me had instilled love and peace and harmony in me. But when I went to this lady's house, she did everything to torment my life. And from staying there and dealing with it for a year's time, because I was only there 1 whole year, and dealing with it, I would say, caused me to find the strength within myself, because I decided one day that I was not going to take it anymore. And I started speaking to her when she would try to do it. Not the, why are you doing this? More or less like, you know it's wrong, you shouldn't be doing it, and if you keep doing it, I'm going to tell. And she knew that I was serious. So, during this time, I decided that, okay, fine, this is it. I'm telling my dad when he gets home. I should have never said that. I should have just told him. But I said it to her to scare her, because I wanted to put fear in her, because I had already went through a process of, you can hit me as many times as you want to hit me, I'm not going to cry. Like, that's what you want, I'm not doing it. So when he came home that day, she had already packed up the house to tell him that it was either her or me, because she couldn't deal with me because I was too unruly of a child, which was a total lie. But the reason I'm sharing this story is because abuse runs in my family. And I broke that curse that day because I stood up for myself. Even as being a child, knowing what was right from wrong, and knowing my strength, and exercising my authority. You will not harm me anymore. That's what I told her. So I was sharing this as one of my stories of curse breaking, so that people can understand and recognize that this is a lifetime thing for me. It has been my life's journey. So, yes. Hopefully it wasn't too harsh, and hopefully it blesses somebody and they can understand. Receive this. Have a blessed night, y'all.